Hey everybody, Connor here, and welcome back to One More Day. So this week, once again, I don't have Addie with me. Toby's been kind of they've had an interesting weekend. We'll just put it that way. So she's out trying to help Toby sleep, which is good for her. Good mom. Good job, mom. Anyways, so this week I wanted to actually talk about another Sick Day Studios production called Legends of Athoria. Now, this podcast, Legends of Athoria, is a Dungeons and Dragons based podcast. However, it doesn't necessarily follow the rules super closely. Like, we use it as guidelines, but it's mostly what's called homebrew. So it's stuff that I've come up with because I actually wrote the campaign. I actually wrote thousands of years of history for where they're at right now. I've got tons of campaigns actually set for there that we plan on playing in the future. And we just finished recording our 12th episode, which was very, very intense. So suggest checking it out. But I wanted to put that out there because I'm trying to do more plugs for the other Sick Day Studios productions. There's also One More Day, which I do with my best friend Jake, that we talk about some deeper stuff and some funny stuff and stuff that has somehow kept us his friends. Oh, and Addie enters the fold. What? I didn't know if you were actually going to put him down. You might hear Mr. Toby. He's sleeping. Anyway, Addie's here technically. But this week I was mainly going to talk about the supernatural and ghosts. You can just stay in here. It is kind of warm in here though. So I enjoy scary things. I enjoy horror. I enjoy like monsters and ghosts and cryptology and cryptids like Bigfoot and all that stuff. However, the thing that scares me most is the ghoulies, is the ghosts, is the big boos and spooky boys. I don't know why. I do know why. It's because for some reason, because I believe in ghosts, obviously, otherwise I would be scared of them. But whenever you like see a video of a ghost or a picture of a ghost, they're always doing something creepy. Like, it's never them just being chill. No, they're always like looking over the edge of a wall or trying to peer at you from behind something. Like, they're always being creepy. Like, if regular people did that, it'd still be very creepy. So I don't get why dead people have to do that, because, you know, dead people are creepy in the first place. Oh, hi, buddy. Sorry, lost my train of thought. I don't get why dead people like decide to be creepy. But then again, if I was a dead person, I would totally haunt Addie, and it would be hilarious. And I'd haunt Jake, and it would be hilarious. I think Addie would figure out it was me, though, pretty quick. She'd try to slap me as a ghost. She's gonna be one of those moms that's able to like flip up her sandal and like just chuck it and bean someone from like 100 yards. It's gonna be great. But speaking about ghosts and hauntings, I actually grew up in a haunted house that is legitimately haunted. My parents didn't actually believe us kids when we would say that when we were little, but over the past few years, they've had their own experiences that they obviously can't explain, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is real. One of the most jarring was we had like a family room downstairs, but we never used it as a family room, so I wanted it as my bedroom. My parents were like, okay, whatever. And we had a little storage area under our stairs, and then we actually had a built-in like cellar from the 1900s that we didn't really go into because the foundation in it was cracked, and it was weird. But one night I woke up in pure terror because I could feel something staring at me from that cellar. And that was like 35 feet away, and I could feel it. Pitch black, but I could feel somebody staring back at me as I stared into the darkness. So I shared a room with my little brother, and I just screamed for him to go get my mom. And he went and got her, obviously, and I was just like clutching my scriptures, couldn't move. And I realize now that it may have been sleep paralysis, but I think with sleep paralysis you can't talk or yell, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not a scientist. Or maybe I am. You don't know. But it's just, ever since then, there's always that feeling like I can kind of sense something down in that cellar. I think I went down in there once a long time ago. Because like we had like a big concrete area in our side yard. And we called it our basketball court because we put a basketball hoop over there. And that was kind of the roof for that cellar. So there were cracks down. I remember going in there, you could just see a splinter of light, and it was terrifying. And I funny enough, did not like it. Another experience that I swear is real, because I still remember it so vividly. So vividly. I had a nightlight in an outlet, and for some reason the outlets in that family room were like up high on the walls, like 6-7 feet on the wall. Don't know why, but I had a nightlight in there, right? And me and my friend were sleeping over. We were just talking. It was late at night, so all the lights were off. We were just sitting talking, and we look over and we see a pitch black hand go over the nightlight and pull it out, and then we heard the nightlight drop, and we just booked it upstairs. And like I said, that could be a dream. I can't 100% say that it's not, but it doesn't feel like a dream. And another thing about that house was a couple of years later, that same friend, we were harassing my little brother, because that's what big brothers do. Doesn't necessarily make it right, but I mean, that's what we did. And we could see the lights on in his bedroom, and we could see shadows underneath it, like he was walking back and forth. So we knew he was in there, so we were trying to give him crap. And then he walks up behind us and asks what we were doing outside of his room. And we had tried opening the door and we couldn't get it open. So that's why we thought he was in there, and he locked it. So he comes over and he opens it, and there's no one in there. Nothing. And he's like, oh, that's weird. I didn't realize I left my light on. And that scarred me for years. Because a couple of years later, I moved into a bedroom that was actually just right across from that one. And whenever we went downstairs, and like you'd go in that hallway, or if you'd be walking upstairs with your back turned to that hallway, you could always feel that someone was watching you consistently. Like someone definitely was there staring at you. Like I locked my bedroom door every night. And my room was on the other side of that, under the stairs part where the cellar was that I could see. It was on the other side of that. So I could hear when people walked up and down the stairs. And there were constant times where I'd be home alone. I could just hear people going up and down the stairs and up and down the stairs and up and down the stairs. Nobody was home. No pets. Nothing. But somebody or something was walking up and down the stairs. Absolutely terrifying. And then probably the most... I know I said the other one was most jarring, but the one that I think I got so scared I just didn't move, like I just froze, was once again I was home alone. I was actually in that family room, bedroom, and I'm throwing a lot of rooms at you. So if you can't keep up, I understand. But I was in that bedroom again, and I was watching a funny movie. It was late at night. I was home alone. So I was like, oh, I can stay up and watch a horror movie. Or not horror movie, sorry. A comedy. And I remember something funny happened, and I laughed. And all of a sudden, I just hear a voice next to me go, "That was funny." And at that moment, I think I peed my pants a little, and I just froze. And I remember thinking, no, it's not. That wasn't funny. That wasn't funny. That most definitely was not funny. And I didn't move for like hours. I just stayed there. That was a scary place. But like I said, as I talked to my parents about these things years back, they didn't believe me, because I'm just a kid. I was just a youngin. But a couple years later, they started hearing the footsteps on the staircase. Like before, they just thought it was us kids because they had 6 kids. We were home a lot, so they always just assumed it was us walking up and down the stairs. But one day, my dad was laying in his bed, and he felt someone lay down next to him. He thought it was my mom. So he started talking to her, and she never responded. So he kind of sat up and looked, and there was an imprint of a body. Nobody there. So that kind of made it real for him. And then just actually, probably a month or so ago, he was sitting in a chair in the living room, just watching TV, talking to my mom. And they got these little, like the green toy soldiers, but they got, like, knights version of them. And they were just talking, all of a sudden, one just got thrown at him, like, with force. It hit him in the chest, and him and my mom were just like, what the heck is going on? So, yeah, ghosts freak me out because I've had a lot of experience with them, and they always decide to be creepy. There is one time that I had a good actually 2 times I had a good experience with the ghost. The first one was I lived at my grandpa's for a little bit after college, and my grandma's been she passed away several years ago. And I was just laying in bed, and all of a sudden I just hear her voice next to me, clear as day, just be like, time to wake up. And I was just like, okay. So at that point I was like, okay, does she like need me to wake up to like go check on my grandpa? Like, is something happening? What's going on? But no, I checked my grandpa, everything was fine. So that was weird. But like I could definitely feel her there. And obviously I heard her clear as day. And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, that's just a hallucination. Which, I mean, if that's what you want to believe, that's totally fine. That is your right. You will have the right to have your own thoughts, have your own beliefs. And everyone does. But I know what I heard. The next one was a little more, I don't want to say sad, but I guess somber. So a friend of mine, his brother passed away a couple years ago, and I got an app called Paralysis. Now, this is actually a spirit box app that a lot of ghost hunters actually use, so that I knew that it was somewhat legit, It wasn't just going to be random crap spewing through. And I visited his heads, the graveyard where he's at, because he was a good friend of mine too. And I wanted to go visit his tombstone, but I could not find it. And I kept getting these directions on the paralysis, like saying up or left or right or down. And I was like, I'm not finding it. And then it said pendant, not pendant. May have been pendant. It said something like pendant. I don't remember what it was. So I was like, okay. And then I found a headstone with like a high school graduation like pendant and tassel. And it was his tombstone. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, you're here. Like, I can talk to you. So I kind of started talking to him, talking about like, hey, where he was, like how life was on the other side. He said he was in pain, and I was that made me sad. So, well, actually, it just said pain. I was like, did you, because he committed suicide. And I said, did you go because of pain? Are you in pain now? And it just said something. I don't remember. I don't have the whole conversation memorized, but I spent probably an hour just sitting and talking to him, and I was getting intelligent responses. He was asking about my family. he asked about my wife. He's like, Addie. And I was like, oh, Addie's good. They said son. And I was like, oh, I just had a son. His name's Toby. He's doing good. He's learning to walk. And it was really cool. It was really, really cool. I told him that I would be back with my friend, his brother. I told him we'd go back there, and I haven't gone back yet, which I do feel bad about. But I partly haven't because I feel bad taking his brother back there, because that's a big thing to deal with, especially if you don't necessarily believe in ghosts or the paranormal. It can be very jarring, and I don't want him to get offended, per se. Which I don't know if he'd get offended, but I don't want to affect him negatively with it. But I talked to him a little bit about his brother. We'll call his brother Steve. So my friend Steve, his brother Steve. We talked about Steve, and he just kept saying that he was really, really worried about Steve. And he just was saying that, like, Steve's making bad choices and all this stuff. So I was like, oh. So I got worried about Steve, and I don't know. I'd like to get him down there, and I don't know. I do want to do actual ghost hunting, though. But the thing is, I don't know if I could handle it. I could picture myself just kind of like seizing up and like just crying on the spot, just like absolutely freezing and just bawling, because I'd be so afraid. And I don't want to do that, because that look like an idiot. Look stupid. But I want to see something paranormal with my own eyes, something that I can remember better than when I was a child, because children do have very active imaginations. So, can I say with 110% certainty that I saw a ghost? I can't. And that's the thing, is I want to be able to have that certainty, but at the same time, it's like, do I really want to have that certainty? Because I don't know if I'd ever sleep after that. I remember I had a nightmare a week or so ago, because all I have are nightmares. Fun fact, I don't remember the last good dream I had. Must have been years ago. All I have are nightmares, so never really sleep well. But that's why I've got caffeine. I had a nightmare that I was doing some paranormal investigating, and I was walking through a warehouse, and I looked up on like a walkway, and I just saw a black mass staring back at me, and I couldn't move. I was frozen in fear. And I just woke up in a cold sweat, and just like, I couldn't move. I was so afraid. Which I feel like such a little baby for, because I also love watching Ghost Adventures. And a lot of people give Ghost Adventures crap because it can be kind of cheesy sometimes. But that show freaks me out more than like anything. And for the longest time, Addie wouldn't let me watch it because I would like stay up and have nightmares, like have to lock the bedroom door, and like it's hot in here. So she wouldn't let me watch it. So I watch it when she goes out of town, and then I regret it because I sleep with the lights on, because I'm a little baby. I am 22 years old, and I still sometimes have to sleep with the lights on because I get too afraid. So, I didn't talk a lot about the paranormal, except for my experiences, and that was kind of a train wreck. I'm hoping that Toby sleeps a little bit better when Addie and I go to record for next week's, so that I can have her on to kind of keep me on track here a little bit. But definitely go check out Legends of Athoria. We really do put a lot of work and time into that, and it would really mean the world to us if you just listened to one episode. First episode, audio wasn't great. We were still figuring it out, so just keep that in mind. We're still working out audio issues. What Is Us, which is the podcast that I've got with my friend Jake, is really good as well. It's really funny. A lot of people really like it, and I think you guys would too. So maybe go check that out as well. But thank you guys all so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.